Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Low Code Campfire for Friday, September 23rd, 2022. This is episode number 68. It's actually the second episode, number 68, for those who are inside on that joke. But this is an event we do every Friday to bring together and talk about low code and your experiences with Plant an App. All the previous episodes are recorded, and you can find them on our YouTube channel on youtube.com/plantanap. Lots of good content in there. We do a pretty informal agenda. We do introductions. We go around the campfire and say first call, something that's important on your mind, something you're trying to fix or figure out. And then we'll take a look at other things like our campfire website, our community forum and feature requests, any submitted topics, anything submitted in advance. There's opportunity to do that in the emails that we send you. And maybe sometimes ghost stories, things that you spent too much time on, chased a ghost, and you want to tell us about it. Lots of ways to interact, but mostly it's jump in, right? This is an open meeting format, and we just value courtesy among our members, which we've never had a problem with that. And we ask if you mute if you've got noise going on behind you. You can submit questions and topics in advance. You can use this QR code or, again, what we send you in the emails. And with that, I will say hello. Lots of familiar faces this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm traveling, so forgive me.
Yeah, okay. You've got a little bit of an echo going on, so it might be hard for you to participate, but you're going to learn from all the wisdom that we talk about. And I don't know if you're going to be able to show us your shirt in travel mode, but in any case, we'll go right to first call. Anybody got anything on their mind?
Well, Dale, I'll jump in first and just say thank you for Wednesday. We are in depth in that at this moment in time, and I'll report back to you any findings, but that was an amazing Google Analytics interface call you did last week, and appreciate your insight. Being able to jump in and find that, how to do it from the command line level, eluded me. I missed that somewhere. I was still trying to do it on the other SDKs and was struggling, and that just made all the perfect sense in the world. So I will have questions as we go in, and maybe others have already have questions, but I've watched your video like 3 times. I've gone back through my projects, my documentation, and we're installing the software on the server now, and it's just I think it's going to be pretty easy from this point forward.
I think you indicated during the call, during that webinar, that it is GA4 that you're trying to access.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yep. Once you get that bearer token, I mean, and this is what you said in the first place. If I could ever get a hold of that bearer token, we're off and running.
Absolutely, and same issue with Firebase, but PAA had a resolution for that one by having an own action and an action form install that helped us with that. So we got around it. We dodged that bullet, but on GA4, we didn't. But no, that was really good information. And I won't take up the campfire time with questions on this particular topic unless others jump in and we turn it into a GA4 conversation. Otherwise, I'll leave the door open for all the other important stuff. But again, thank you so much. That was priceless for me.
And I guarantee, I mean, it was confusing for me. Google presents a large number of options, and both in what libraries you can use, what methodology you can use. And so finding a path through, I'm not ever saying it was the best path through, but it's a path through. So, oh yeah, Jim mentions he's fighting Azure bearer tokens, and I haven't played at all with Azure. Personally, I'm anxious to tackle AWS. I think their security is going to be much the same way and having to find a way through, but there is just so much stuff that is available from AWS, whether it's image recognition or transcription or email sentiment. I mean, there's just a ton of things that they do for a minuscule price. And so to be able to harness that, that's one of the things that I want to get into in these next few months and bring you something in that regard. But
Dale, in an earlier quote from you, you had said that in any type of this integration using APIs, to use your words, you said the fun part is breaking down the security for each one of these we take on. I would argue that word fun, but you are correct. Everyone has its own nuance. And, if you're that masochist that you call that fun, then I'm going to call on you often.
well,
that does seem to be the big wall that we all hit, is just security. Once we get past it seems pretty simple.
It's I say fun like as in a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that you guys present me with week by week, it's a puzzle too, right? Our software does this and you want to do that, and how do we make it happen? It's I don't work on big solutions anymore. I work on finding these ways through to solve a particular puzzle. So hopefully that enables you guys to do the big solutions.
Well, thank you again for all you do, and I'm going to back down and allow the others to take over.
Oh, great. Cool. Who else? Who has something going on? Or wants to comment?
I want to thank you for last Friday for the demonstration that you had. I use this feature that you presented, and now I have a much cleaner page.
Remind me, Florin, was this the one about the drop-down boxes?
Yeah, the drop-down boxes were to take data from the database or to call an API without submitting a form.
Yes, good.
Yeah,
There's and even within that, there was some discussion in that last week. Sorry that we couldn't put out the recording, but there's some discussion in that. There's lots of techniques there, but there's some good ones.
Yeah,
you were able to get through that.
I already integrate that solution in my app, and it's very cool. So thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Until somebody else comes in with something, I was going to show. There's I got a question this week about action form, and the idea was that there were 3 drop-down fields. Actually, I'm going to go click in on this because I want to see the question, because I think in this, Justin, who doesn't happen to be on the call today, but Mark tried to jump in and help, and good suggestions. So I do appreciate that people help within the community and helps get answers to people faster. But this solution, we have the ability to filter and built in, especially this is the Bootstrap 5 interface, to be able to narrow in on a listing very quickly. But there was a question that was about being able to do it, having a filtering form, and to have these filters automatically reduce their selections based on what you pick, so that it's only offering, for example, if you say that you want a large item, the only thing that we have available in large is white. And so while we start out with a drop down that's red and white, if we pick a large, the drop down automatically narrows so that you can pick from what's available. So it's a little bit of a different use case than what we have here. And then you could also have more sophisticated logic involved as well. But I'll be putting this one up on Campfire. I haven't built it yet, but the underlying solution really was to use a SQL distinct query behind the scenes through an API, so that you can take a look at what's left after you filter according to like size, that you can get the distinct values left for the other drop-down boxes. So, and then beyond that, it's just the dynamic refreshing of them and the listings. So a couple of techniques built in together to get some slightly different, to meet some slightly different use case. So I thought that was a cool question, and again, a nice puzzle.
Yeah, this is something like what I work in my project. I play a lot with dropped down boxes. I love this thing.
Yeah.
If you want to, I could show you what they do.
Absolutely. We're always interested to see how somebody else is using the product. So if you're inclined and you want to get your screen up, we would turn it over to you. Well, he's doing that. And anyone else with a question? Ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. Let me stop sharing. Just grab hold of that. There's a share screen button.
Yeah. You see my screen? Yeah, with the refresh button.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. This is what I I'm working for I don't know 2 or 3 months. I show you the form first time. So these are a lot of drop down, and when I select something, I use this feature that you showed me last week. This is a hidden button that do exactly the same thing. And in this SQL, this is what I take from the page. I'll show you all that are from this page, from the top of the page.
So
Now,
it ends up becoming more dynamic because you're
yeah. I'll show you how it works. Then this page is about to take an order for the grains industries of agriculture. Yeah. This is a year of the crop, so we can select because we have a lot of prices depend of the year that crops are. Yeah, and so that is a specific. This is a buyer, but this is not affect the selection. Now we choose the product. This is the milling wheat or corn or barley, whatever. Storage is the place where the product will be put it in. So the different storage has different prices. That's because there are all the prices are related to Constanța Harbor, and the inland storage are a lower price because it's about the transportation. Yeah. So and now you obtain a single price specific for this 1, 2, or 3 selection. Now we have the condition for the how the grains will get to the storage by the supplier or in other kind of transportation. So with that, it means that the supplier will bring the grains. We can make another selection, because when we select this, I'll have to reload the page, because it's much safer in the
To force a restart.
yeah, to restart. And we now if we select the case with the transportation, then this is the county for Romania, and we choose a location, and using an API that calculate the distance between this location and the location of the storage will have a cost of transportation, which will decrease the price.
Mhm.
So I use two hidden button that you show me. The first one I used to take the price, and there are a lot of sequel, because I have to take quality index and so on, another characteristic of the product. And then the second button, if I need the transportation, I just call this workflow, and it's easy to implement. I saw that I need to, when I put this update form, I need to push this token in the page, even though the token, it has already a value that I previously pull it through this button. But if I don't pull it here, I put it here, the page will not load. So yeah, this I try, and I succeed in this method. And all the other things are about the JavaScript
I like the way that form just builds depending on which direction that you go with it. That's very neat.
yeah, and this is the build for phone interface, because salespeople use the phone, so they only can do the select. The single thing that it introduced by number is order quantity, but I guess it could be something that we can select it. In this button is allowed me to modify the index, so every button that I push, it will change the price. Everything is dynamic. I can order cost. I can do anything I want to, and because I show you this, maybe you can help me on something. Bogdan helped me to restrict the end order, but I'm not able to understand how this field works. I'll show you. I want to, when I select the date, when it's selected, to dynamically transmit to the next when I select the order, I want to open the end order, you know, and I cannot do this. I can understand how it works.
To automatically, you're automatically showing it, but now you're
Yeah.
trying to set the dates according to the. You're trying to restrict the dates according to the dates that you selected in the.
I done this. I restricted the date. Wait a minute. Bogdan showed me, and this is how I can restrict the date for the end order to be in with 14 or 45 days after the day of the start order is. But I cannot. I want to open the end order after I click on the start order because I want to appear after I start the order. Then the field with the end order appear on my page. You see every quantity order, it will appear when this will be true. Yeah, but because I don't know how, if I put here the start order in Java H here, what I should do, what because if I put it like that, it will not be true or false because start order is not numeric. So I don't know if you understand what I want to say.
Sure, and I don't happen to know what the right the right syntax is, but it really comes down to I mean, I assume, I'm guessing that at the start the date would be a blank. I'm not sure. So have you tried not equal to?
Yeah, I tried. Yeah.
Okay.
I tried, but okay, it's not a big problem. I'm sure it will find a solution.
We have a similar problem. Anytime there are date time fields, it seems to be a nuisance. I can't remember exactly, but I think what we did was we had a hidden field that the value of that hidden field was what was set by the date timer, and then you checked the value of the hidden field rather than the actual date picker control, because the date picker control is very complex. It just means you have more fields, but that's one way of doing it, as far as I remember.
I mean, you've got a pretty good buzz going on there, and I only mean through the audio. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So we can put it here.
Yes, to push a value into a hidden field.
I understand. Yeah, yep. I will try.
Yeah, it's a pretty good workaround. So in the middle of that, and Jim, who has audio problems of his own, doesn't have a mic today, but he says, he asked the question, are the drop down displayed based on the value of a previous drop down, doing an Ajax refresh after each drop down selection? But it looked to me like that's just based on bindings.
Yeah.
Mostly.
It's just bindings. Yeah. I don't have a field on the pull it for somewhere else. No. It's just
So, for example, after you select a crop year, the binding is to the binding for buyer is what? Yeah. So
in
the I'm
no,
sorry.
no, no. When I pull the price here, I'll take the product, storage, user, because the user has storage, and the crop.
Yep. Just I think I might be focusing on the wrong part, but if you'll scroll all the way to the top and open up buyer.
Buyer is not doing anything. Is
Right, but what's the binding for that? Keep going down. See, use bind expression.
Okay, binding.
I
Okay.
think this is what he was asking. You pick one and it gets shown based on once you pick a crop year, now it shows
Yeah.
This next one. So
Every field is built like that. Pick some one field and then it opens another field.
yep. So
And the field above are blocked only for the user to have only one option.
yep. So it becomes very progressive. It keeps people focused on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So this is out of curiosity, it looks to me like this is a development website. Are you working on is this an actual production project that you're
Yeah,
kind of to?
Yeah, it is. And I will improve with this future that you told me, because now every time I do the SQL and the API calling, I have to put it on the query and then read it dynamically and submit it and reload it, and is a big mess. This is a much nicer way to do this. I'm very pleased about that. You see, I have nothing in the query.
Mhm.
I have a ghost story. I could show you how it works on my last page, but in my clone, a page doesn't work. Here I have some things in my query, and then but the page it just don't work. But I can show you how the query is a messy things. This is where I pull the data from the database, and this is where I reload the page, and this is the query string and all the token that and then if I need to calculate the transportation, I have to I do the same thing like I show you previously, but then I have to reload everything. I have to invent some new hidden token to control dynamically the page, and this is a very long SQL query. But with what you show me is
Oh, you were able to get away from all of that.
yeah.
Yep. Good.
So once again, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for showing that. And we've gotten lots of good comments about your solution. So anyway, glad it helped.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'll stop my share.
And Jim, I tried to ask your question as best I could. Did you get what you were? Did your question get answered? Okay, good. All right. Perfect. What else? I did, well, I guess let's stick with our normal thing here. Make sure I haven't taken a look at Campfire. If there's anybody on the call that isn't part of Campfire and you want to be, let me know. This is where we share solutions between us. Yeah, that was the last one. We did it last week, form data automatically, so there's nothing new in there. But if you want to share or want to learn something, and I get to where I refer to this every day because I know where this stuff is, and when I need something, a little bit of code. Most recently, this one that Mark contributed about running a button on a form. It's really the little bit of JavaScript that where you can have a set a timeout before you do something, and just knowing that this is here and I can copy and paste it, it's really quite cool. So I appreciate people who are contributing there. I did what I think is kind of a cool one, and I wanted to show it here and see if I have it somewhere. So let's find it. I'm getting involved with a database for my church. We're wanting to reach out to the people in our community, and so loading up a bunch of data from the public data from the assessor's office. I got 88,000 records of ownership from houses in the county, and these records were like 8,000 bytes wide. It looked like a classic COBOL, down to having fillers and things like that. And so the first question was, how do I import that? Picking out the things that I needed out of it and importing it. And so I had to do a little bit of pre-processing to pull to get my fields out of this 8,000 byte record. But at the end of the day, it imported very quickly into Plankton app, and the import program was very simple. I think we've showed stuff like that before, but essentially I've got a choose file button and an import button, and so I narrowed it down to creating an Excel file, and so it outputs a file from the single file upload, and then the processing button, in just a few commands. One, I'm clearing the records. I'm doing a fresh population of it, so I delete all the records. Then you do a very quick create list from Excel that points back to that single file upload. So it's very simple to do. Creates a property list, and then we iterate through the property list, and I've got my 88,000 properties, and I'm just doing a create new property import. That's my entity, a property import record, and providing all my fields out of the file that I'm using. So it's developing this, the actual import, less than half an hour, and you've got your data into Plankton app. So that was pretty cool, I thought. But then in terms of, I promised something new here, and I think I've got that. There's I built a token that is loaded in a variety of places, and it ends up providing an audit trail. And so what I mean by that is if I search for my house here, and take a look into the record. And again, this is all public data information. There's nothing confidential here, but I've implemented this thing called a view history. And so hovering it, I can see that somebody else, some other user was looking at this 17 hours ago. And my use case for this is, I'm thinking in terms of like using it on a ticketing system, on our ticketing system, but just in general to provide an audit trail of who was looking at something or who is looking at something. And this is set up to automatically refresh every 30 seconds. So what we get is, you know, if as support techs, for example, if Mihai and Mihai works in our support session, and so we go, if Mihai goes in on a ticket and is looking at it and working on it, and I come in after him and go into the same ticket, I'll be able to see that he's working on it. And so even though he hasn't responded yet, I'll be able to say, okay, I'm not going to invest my time, or I'm going to talk to Mihai before I invest my time in doing this. So that's the use case that I'm trying to solve. And I thought it was cool. I don't know if anybody else, if there's enough interest for me to do a cafe on it. But it ends up being pretty easy to implement.
Okay, Dale, I'll just say that is cool.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm being validated. Jim says he's interested too. So the other thing I did is I put the token, put the same token here on the listing. So as each listing item comes out and is rendered, it generates the same tracking. And so, for example, this will give you, if you were to go back in and look at the entity behind it, you would be able to see, okay, Dale is browsing through, and these were the records that were on the screen, and this is the one that he picked. And I think I can show that. So right now we've got Beret and Holmes, and let's say if I go into the Holmes record, and then I'm going to, in a different screen, open up my page views. We'll sort it backwards by time. Come on. So here's right now. So I was looking at Dale Warner looking at a property import listing, and here's Beret and Holmes and whatever. But I dug in, went to the property detail for that one. So that was, if you wanted to provide tracking, if you have a piece of, for example, if you were to have a HIPAA type compliant thing where people are supposed to work some other kind of confidential information, people are supposed to look at it in the course of their job, but they're not supposed to look up their ex-girlfriend or something like that. This would provide the tracking, who saw what when. So kind of an interesting use case, I thought. Back on, Jim was asking the question if it was an easy method to build the entity from an Excel import, or did I need to manually did you manually need to convert the entity to an import? So that was yeah, it was interesting to me. This is the specification that I got from the county that showed all the fields. So there was field names, what was in there, the starting position and the length. Excuse me, this is the what is it? It might be the ending position, I guess. Yes, and the length. And so what I was able to do, I'm, you know, just like I say, you know, I'm a SQL guy. I'm also an access guy, and I've got access on my system. So I built this the columns based on this, which ones I wanted to import and what their type was and the length and everything. This is a format that Access accepts when you're trying to import a text file. of a delimited. So at the end of the day, I was able to just copy this this set of columns and paste it into Access to tell it which ones I wanted to import, and the other ones weren't done. At that point, once it's in Access and it's got the ones that you want, you can simply export it to Excel. So this was my way of getting around the fact that this record was, what, 9,000 bytes wide. So, yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is essentially I did a pre-process of the file before I sent it into Plankton App. I extracted the data that I was interested in and used their specification to do it. So my little thing. And again, this is just a fun little project. But you know, it's got I think it has potential. I'm going to be using Jerry's techniques. I'm going to jump in here. I think, for example, I've got just a simple link to a Google map to bring up where this is, but I've already got Jerry's techniques built into this app to be able to map based on latitude, longitude. So it's headed into geocoding and get lat longitude. So now we're back to, now I understand your question, Jim. On the Plankton App side, did you build the entity fields manually or create or to get the record? Yes, I built it manually, copy and pasted the field names and did it that way. If you were if you really had a big one and you wanted to import all that, it's possible to get Plankton App to, you know, to build it more dynamically. This is my property import. So what I did in actuality was I came in here and I copied and pasted and chose field types for everything and chose the properties that I want. By the way, hello, Patrick, are you there?
Yep.
Okay, so take a note. You got a lot of things. I would love this to be a sticky header because
yeah.
So anyway, throwing notes to the product team even as I'm but if you wanted to with property import, there is this, or excuse me, so yeah, the name of my table is property import, but there's this export capability that will generate a bunch of JSON that describes each field. And if you were inclined, you could build JSON that looked like this. Don't give it a global ID. And I'll just take an example. Let's go ahead and copy this thing. And basically, I'm gonna let Plankton App add a field for me dynamically. So I'm pasting the same thing back in. It's got the same IDs and everything. But let's say I want to create another field that that's like like this mail deliverable code. So if I were to copy the JSON from this point on down to the end, so one block, and then paste it here at the end, we can create another field. I'm just going to omit the global ID. I'm doing this live, maybe I'm going to close my database. I don't know, but this is going to be, I'm just going to call it new field. Doesn't matter. And we've got all of my properties. Probably don't need this order index either. I don't know. But if I now import this thing, it's going to try and do that. So the point is, you could, if you really had a big definition that you wanted to do, let's see if it worked. You could manipulate the JSON and get it to add the field for you. And it looks like I failed at it. Let's see, new field in here. So, oh yeah, there it is. It got added at the front, probably because I took away that index order. But you know, now it's there, and So I hope that answers your question, Jim. There is a workaround to be able to do, if you've got thousands of fields, you could format them in JSON and then import them. Use that import capability to do it. And I hope that 5 minutes was actually your question, if you wanted to know that. Delete this out. Okay, good. And it does look like I'm, let's see, import. I think the absence of that characteristic might have made it set. Yep, I'll have to straighten this. Yep, I'll have to straighten this out. So I showed a technique that's almost that I know will work. I probably shouldn't have removed that index. Okay. So that's the fun I've been having lately. Someone else. So Jim's use case to import fields. Sorry, let me just read Jim's feedback and then we'll jump to Mark. My use case to import fields of a table in another database, then set the database connection to point to the other database. Yep, that would work. And if you've already, yes, I see what you're saying. If you're going to turn it into a plant and app database just for the purpose so you can do a connection string. Got it. Sorry. Thank you, Mark, for waiting.
Quite all right. I was going to share a ghost story if you would like to hear it.
Please.
I think this might actually be a twofer. So you might have seen something that I wrote in the community forum this week. It was a situation where I had a large form, 329 fields to be exact, built in Action Form 5.19, I think. So it was back when DNN was 8.0.4. I upgraded the site and the Action Form module, and that form stopped appearing in the all upgraded version. It wouldn't show. However, I could get into the settings and I could see that the JavaScript that I had placed in the initial JavaScript section was still there. So like some piece of the form was still there. And I later figured it out, that if I went back to the original form back in DNN 8.04, and I removed some fields that were scheduled to be obsolete, and those were some date fields, and I converted them to the newer date fields, and then re-exported the form, it could be then imported into the upgraded version of the website successfully, and it all showed and it was all good. So I say that to help anyone else who's having trouble getting a form to upgrade. The obsolete fields might be the issue, and that's worth looking at.
So I did see that in the community forum. Thank you for what you did. Not only that you found the answer, but you posted it back. Because just for this purpose, somebody dealing with it perhaps can find that and letting us know. Maybe I would have been able to help the next person better. So I appreciate that you do that. And then yeah, it's unfortunate that the product, basically what it's saying is once that obsolete thing is actually been removed, that it didn't behave well, and letting you know. I mean, you know, and this is a challenge. I would love for everything to go much smoother. It would have been great if it popped a message that said invalid field type or whatever, but just blew up. So,
well, you know, when you're upgrading a site, I think all of us would have a little checklist that we're going by, things we're going to check before we get started. I think upgrade this, fix that, get rid of that unused module, all those kinds of things. So I have just added another line to my list of things to do, which is look for obsolete fields in my form. And that's okay. The form did warn me that those fields were scheduled to become obsolete. So it was right there in the form design. But, you know, I was operating under the principle of, hey, this form is working and doing what it's supposed to do. Leave well enough alone. And that didn't work for me this time.
Yes, and you know, we were just talking about some obsolete fields in this upcoming release this week. That, well, I don't know what release. We have already announced a stack of things, I think, in version 118 that are obsolete. It's things like agree to terms and things like that. And we've announced them. It's been that way for several versions. In the next version, there's a really good chance that we will actually get around to removing them. For most of them, in this case, we're talking about hiding them and preventing people from using them in new projects going forward. And so that kind of thing would keep you from, that would work, right? But when we turn around and absolutely remove them from the product eventually, then it gets into, now if you take something that's very old and try to import it, it's gonna blow up. So it's a good reminder for us trying to do.
Well, thankfully I had the old website still running in a different instance, so I could just, you know, pop it up and do that extra work. So that's another recommendation these days.
Yeah, and that is a really great recommendation. That I mean, I know that there are people that update their production website and you know, just go straight from some very old version and apply a bunch of updates and just hope everything works. And I mean, it's also happened that people do that and don't have backups, which is very unfortunate and not a good way to go. So, you know, if you're willing to restore your backups, that's one way to do it. But the absolute safest way is to do it on a clone and then thoroughly test your clone. And you know,
Okay, so I mentioned that this might be a twofer. And
Yes.
This is the other part of it. So after getting that form working, it would not submit. And, you know, with 329 fields, I figured there's a conflict in there somewhere. Maybe something's being required but hidden, you know, something silly like that. So I spent a long time hunting that down, and I was reaching for low-hanging JavaScript. Where's the binding? What is required? What's not? What's got an action associated with it? What doesn't? And after looking at all the stuff that seemed like the logical place that could be causing a conflict, why it wouldn't submit, it turned out to be a field whose name was the capital letter B. Yeah, I know. That's a strange thing. So I think it's still possible that it could be something that was connected to that field that didn't want to run. But when I renamed the field from something to something other than B, like it was just a hidden field that was storing a default cost for something. So $95 was typed into that as an initial value. If I just changed that B to B cost, that made everything work. It made the form submit again. So I'm wondering, and I don't know if this is the case or not, but you know, if B is somehow reserved
word.
I don't know that. Like again, I say it could be something that was connected to the B field, but I don't think so.
Well, I'm hoping to test that here while we're talking, but I know that we've had another report of a field name of event causing problems, and it has to do with things that we or our libraries use in code. So
well, I got my form working by changing the field name after, I don't want to say how many hours of hunting that down.
I understand.
I will tell you, you know, the technique that finally solved the issue was deleting files. I'm sorry, deleting fields.
Until it started to
and then
work.
trying to submit each time until I narrowed it down to which one was the problem.
And I guarantee you, if you had handed me that problem, and I know I've done these, I know I've done them with you before, that getting an export and loading them onto my system, and that's the approach I would use. Delete half of them out and see what happens, and you can back it up and restore it from a starting spot, so you start narrowing down what it is, and then yeah. So let's. This is a fun one.
Yeah, so the client had cost levels, package A, package B, package C, and so I just put some default values in. Not to be persnickety, but mine was a capital B. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Well, let's stick with what we know doesn't, what we think doesn't work. And I'm not going to do anything on my, so it just wouldn't submit, period.
Correct. Yeah, the submit would change to please wait, and it would stay there. Looked a lot like that.
And then if we go in here and change it to B plus.
Well, that's a nice reassurance that I'm not losing my mind.
Well, I can't
Fascinating.
guarantee that. I'm
Can't guarantee that.
professional, but on this particular area, yeah. So that's real helpful, and kind of makes me wonder what other ones are hanging out.
I can tell you that A through G is okay, except for B.
Oh, okay.
N is also okay. So you got the rest of the alphabet to go.
That's a perfect cautionary tale of using single character field names.
Is it? Is that the rule? Single character field names?
Oh, well, just, for those of us who started way back in BASIC all those years ago, we're so let A equal 23, that kind of thing. And yeah, using descriptive field names is always recommended, but B should be valid. I mean, there's no rule in Plantain app that says don't do that, but there is now.
Well, yep, there's a ghost story for you.
That was a perfect ghost story. All right,
And
so
I'm guessing that it would be the field ID. So, I mean, because I could see naming your field ID B, but your actual field label being something else. But I'm sure this must be the field ID that's causing this.
Yeah, it was
I
the
can't
field
see,
ID.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
hidden field, so it didn't really matter what the title was.
yeah.
yep. Just for fun here, I like to poke at these things. The title is there, but calling it
Yep.
something else is fine. It's B.
It's B.
So
Well, it's package B, in my understanding.
yeah, no, not there. There's nothing in our cautions against having that ID, and yet it at some level it causes a problem. So we'll get into that. Try and see if we can sort it out. We've done most of this today, and we're coming to the end of our hour. I wanted to give a programming note. October 7, no campfire. I'm going to encourage you to watch old episodes, mostly of me talking, and that you can fill in that week, or go home early, something. But we'll be back the following week, so just cross that one off on your calendar. Any final thoughts before I go to our unrecorded afterglow section? Okay, I want to thank everyone for coming. It's turned into yet another exceptional episode of Loco Campfire, and it gets good because you guys show up. So thanks for that. Thanks, Florin, for your contribution today as well. So with that, you guys have a great Friday.